Hello, everybody. This is Jarrett Felix, also known as E Train 11, coming to you from Babylon, New York. And I'm actually inside today, usually out running when podcasting, but pretty windy out today, so didn't want to take the chance of not being able to be heard. So I'm inside laying on the couch this time around. So it'll be a little bit of a different sound, but hopefully the same kind of info, and I can actually look things up on the computer while I'm talking this time, which should hopefully make for better overall podcast. Very excited to talk to you guys about the state championships that are coming up. Hopefully get some questions rolling in as I'm going here. Try to answer those, and we've already got one person chiming in asking about sleeper picks in the boys' mile, which is a very interesting event to talk about sleeper picks in when you look at it as Jackson Hoey, kind of the big favorite right now. He's run 4:11. Nobody else in the field thus far indoors has run under 4:19, and there's only a couple guys who are even at that mark. So it's going to be very interesting to see who kind of develops into a challenger, if there is a challenger, and then where the medalists are going to come from, as not a lot of these guys have state experience in the mile overall. I think this first heat, now there's two sections, there'll be two sections of this. The first heat, that is the quote-unquote slow section, it's going to be a very interesting battle because there's a good mix of guys. I think there's some guys in this heat that aren't going to be afraid to take it out hard, take it out fast. You know, there's incentives from these individuals in this heat to take it out hard because, you know, there's medals on the line and they want to produce a fast time and get a medal. And the best way to do that, obviously, is to push the pace. There's some really strong distance guys in this. You look at somebody like Kent Hall, who was really successful during cross country. You look at someone like Jeff Kirschenbaum, who's run some sick 2-mile times and 3K times this season. Those are both guys that I don't think would be afraid to push the pace. And then you have, you know, guys with great kicks as well on the flip side. So if somebody does set up the pace and one of those guys with a big kick can hang on, maybe they can get a big sprint to the finish out of it. I'm definitely excited to watch Ryan Barton from Downingtown West. I think that he could potentially be a sleeper pick. He didn't end up in my medals when I was predicting this, but he's somebody who he got off to a bit of a slow start. He didn't race for a while, and his first race back wasn't anything fantastic, but then he started to rally, ran a great DMR leg, and then came back at last chance to break 4:30 in the mile and get that time that got him into this state meet as the second to last qualifier, and puts him in the conversation now. You know, once you're in this meet, he's got a 4:18 1600 meter PR, which not a lot of guys can boast. And that came as a sophomore last year. He's a little bit more experienced now, having been to states outdoors in the 16. He's part of a really great team with a lot of great training partners. I think that he could really potentially have a big PR because he hasn't raced a lot, but his trajectory right now I think is definitely headed in the right direction. Obviously, Kirschenbaum and Hall are both two of the bigger names. They have a lot of potential here to make a big statement out of this slow heat. Kirschenbaum kind of taking a chance on himself here, running this mile rather than saving up for the fresh 3K. So it'll be interesting to see how that strategy pays off. If he ends up setting a really fast pace and somebody ends up taking a ride off that pace and putting on a kick, who knows exactly what's going to happen. But Jeff's obviously had a tremendous season. He's been successful at the state championships already this year as a senior, placing in the top 10 states and breaking 16 at Hershey. So I think he'll be ready for this challenge. And if you look at Heat 2 to me is really exciting because there's a lot of guys that seem to be on the rise type of guys. You have a couple juniors in here that are having terrific breakout seasons on the track. Liam Galligan from Springfield Delco comes into this as the second overall seed. Connor McMenamin from Solderton. He's coming off a big mile PR. So is Noah Velasco of Upper Marion. He's a senior, but he's made huge strides in the last couple weeks. Equated him to kind of Christian Sanders, also of Upper Marion. If you look that up from a couple years back, he went from about 2 flat to 153 in the span of just a couple weeks from the same school here. And Velasco making a huge drop at Meet of Champs, going from borderline state qualifier to one of the top, one of the top seeds in the mile. So if he can continue at this trajectory that he's on right now, he's going to do something big. Penn Track, Dan Beck has Noah Velasco fourth in his predictions. Big shout out to Dan, obviously, for taking the time to humor us in this prediction contest. And so he's obviously high on Velasco to continue this kind of role that he's been on recently. So he's a guy that even though he's already dropped a lot of time, people still kind of see him as somebody who can continue to get better. Now, the commenter pointed out a name that I think is a great name to be watching, and that's Matt Scarpill of CB South. And Scarpill's had kind of an interesting career. As a freshman, he came on to the scene really strong, ran a killer DMR leg for this team indoors, if I remember correctly. So he's kind of shined in this moment, even as a freshman. Broke 16 minutes for 5K during cross, had a really good cross season. Ended up having an off day at districts, but having some big days after the fact. Some great regional performance, I believe. And he's had some good strides on the mile, and he could possibly be sitting on a breakout race. And the CB South team on the whole has really done excellent things in kind of this mile 800 area. And they've had guys like Austin Greger, Joey Waddington, and Tom Mallon, who've all come to states in this event and done really well and consistently kind of shown up in the big moment. And I think Scarpill could end up being another one of the guys in that line. He's a junior now. He's had a chance to mature and learn. I think he's really going to appreciate this opportunity. He's run well on this track before. I think he's definitely a candidate for a big breakthrough. And one other guy that I'm interested to see, the last name into this fast heat, Brody Beeler of Selinsgrove. He's had a very strong season. We saw him at Susquehanna run a great 3K. He mixed it up well with Pfeffer and Milligan in the mile at the Kevin Dare Invitational, and those guys are both 156 guys now. Beeler also had a couple wins on this state college track already, including just last Thursday. So he's kind of familiar with this track. He's had some big wins here. He's had some big races here. I don't think he's ever been in a race quite like this with this kind of level of competition. If this thing gets out and gets out fast, which who knows exactly what the strategy is going to be. I don't know who's going to be the pace pusher, but I don't think Beeler is going to shy away from pushing himself and kind of seizing this opportunity that he has now as a chance to really kind of make a name for himself. He's a small school District 4 guy, so I'm excited